Knock on the Saints door. Quarterback sneak by Tom Brady to the 43-year-old score. He did. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Now spiked that ball, Tom Brady. Who says I'm 43? He runs right up the gut and scores 6. 7. Handoff, run the ball. Fournette slashes away to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the 30, 25, to the 20. Fournette to the 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Run the ball, Leonard Fournette. Wow, what a blast up the gut, found daylight, and outran everybody. Fire the cannons, get them going. Bucs win. Bucs win, Bucs win. Fire them cannons.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Swords Up Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about our Week 15 matchup. The first against the Atlanta Falcons. We have another one coming up in Week 17 at home, but this one's going to be away in Atlanta. A 1 o'clock game on Fox. And so we're going to be previewing this week's divisional matchup and talking about the key players to the game as well as a prediction at the end of it. But first, starting out with a bit of roster news, as this week the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, unlike they have had all season long, have actually had some issues as it pertains to the COVID-19 reserve list. The Buccaneers have actually been pretty clean as far as any COVID-19 outbreaks have been concerned. Thankfully, nobody on the team, it appears, has tested positive, but some players have been placed on the COVID-19 list due to close contacts. And so the Buccaneers this week have made a few roster moves in order to have some contingency plans ready for players that may possibly be out this week because of being placed on the COVID-19 reserve list. So let's start out with the specialists, and they were placed on the reserve list earlier in the week as of I am recording this, but they are activated off that list now, and that is our kicker, Ryan Suckup, punter, Bradley Pinion, and long snapper, Zach Triner. They were all activated from this list, so that's good news for us. But the Buccaneers, just as a contingency plan, have actually activated our practice squad kicker, Greg Joseph, to the active roster, and long snapper, Garrison Sanborn. And then we also signed former Chiefs punter Dustin Colquitt, a Super Bowl champion from last year, and on the Steelers this year for 5 games, who was cut earlier in the year. Been a pretty good punter throughout his career, so he's now on our practice squad. And then also as another COVID-19 replacement is guard Ted Larson, being activated to the active roster. A former Buccaneer for his first 4 seasons from 2010 to 2013. So he is now on the active roster due to spot being opened up, with Donovan Smith being placed on the COVID list. But I will get to who is going to be out for this game because of being on the list in just a bit. So I'll include that in the injury section of the video, which we'll move into now. So let's start out with the injuries, and then we'll get into players who will be out because of being placed on the COVID-19 list. So the Buccaneers actually don't have anybody with an injury designation coming into this game, although Bruce Arians did say that Jamel Dean, who has been dealing with a groin injury, will be a game-time decision. He fully participated in practice today and does not have an injury designation, so that's good to see. On the Falcons side of things, they're suffering injuries to some players at pretty key positions. Safety Ricardo Allen's going to be out of this game after being placed in the concussion protocol. Also, defensive tackle Marlon Davidson with a knee injury. Corner Darquez, one of their top corners in Darquez Denard, will be out with a quad injury. And then Julio Jones, their star wide receiver, is going to be out with a hamstring injury. 2 starters on the offensive line will be questionable for this one. Left guard James Carpenter with a groin injury, and right tackle Caleb McGarry labeled questionable coming into this one with a non-injury related designation. Alright, so now getting into who's going to be out for being placed on the COVID-19 list. Our starting left tackle Donovan Smith has been placed on the COVID-19 list as of the day I'm recording this because he was a close contact to an individual that did test positive, and so likely Josh Wells will be getting the start at left tackle for us. And then we will see who's going to be starting at running back because Ronald Jones, who was dealing with a fractured pinky finger, actually had surgery earlier in the week to get pins placed in his finger, has been placed on the COVID-19 list and will be out of this game. So we will see who's going to be starting running back for this one. I'd imagine Leonard Fournette will be back this week after being a healthy scratch the previous week, but we could see more of LaShawn McCoy as well, as he did look pretty fresh last week and actually had a couple of decent runs. But with all that being broken down, let's now get into the key players for this one. And for the Falcons side of things that we're going to start out with, I'll be highlighting They're a receiver that's going to have to step up in this one with Julio Jones being out. And thankfully for them, they have another star receiver, and that's going to be Calvin Ridley in his third season in the league. This has definitely been his breakout season so far in establishing himself as one of the league's top wide receivers. And so far in 2020, Ridley has played in 12 games, struggled with a little bit with injuries just like Julio Jones this season, but he has 67 catches for 1,029 yards. First time he has topped 1,000 yards in his career so far. For 8 touchdowns and averaging 15.4 yards per catch. It's going to be a really scary matchup going against him. Carlton Davis, I'd imagine, is going to match up against him. He's going to have a tough task ahead of him. Calvin Ridley, in my opinion, is one of the best route runners in the league, and so I'd really like to keep an eye on the matchup between him and Carlton Davis, and maybe Jamel Dean if he is able to come back in this one, which I think he will. And so I mentioned Leonard Fournette and how I think he's going to come back and play as our starting running back in this one with Ronald Jones being out. And with Ronald Jones being out, that it is a big loss for us, but I think it'll give the opportunity for Fournette, and then also we'll mix in a little bit of LaShawn McCoy, and who knows, maybe even Keyshawn Vaughn will get some action in this one. But like I mentioned in the last video, when our offense is at our best and when the team is at their best, Ronald Jones is going. And for us to win this one, I think we're going to need Leonard Fournette to get going in some way. I mentioned he was a healthy scratch last week, and so we'll see how he responds to that. And so he's been limited to 10 games in this season. And on the ground, he has 69 carries for 271 yards and 3 touchdowns, averaging 3.9 yards per carry. In receiving, his 23 catches for 171 yards. Obviously not impressive stats at all, so we'll see if he can get something going in this one. I thought he was going to have a big role to play in this part of the season, but Ronald Jones has really taken over the backfield with a Pro Bowl level season, so we'll see how Fournette responds to this opportunity being given to him. Alright, so now if I'm going to give a prediction for this one, I think Buccaneers are going to come out strong in this one because this is a really important game for their playoff hopes. As if they win this game, it doesn't technically secure a Buccaneer playoff ticket unless the Bears and Vikings were somehow, some way able to tie their game. The Buccaneers would not officially make the playoffs this week, but they will pretty much have a 99.99% probability of making the playoffs. So pretty much this is the game in which the Buccaneers are going to be able to punch their ticket in if they win this one. And also it's a divisional game, and those are always really important in terms of standings at the end of the year. And the Buccaneers need to keep winning to be able to push and hopefully get that 5 seed to be the top wild card. And with the reeling Falcons team that we're playing against, I think the Buccaneers are going to come out hungry for this one. And I honestly think we're going to be able to get some good pressure on Matt Ryan too. So look out for the pass rush again this week. They were able to get some good pressure on Kirk Cousins last week. So I think with the pass rush and then also with an efficient offensive performance, kind of like how we did last week, and then we'll see how the running backs perform, but they're going to be key in this one, especially Leonard Fournette, and I think we'll be just fine in that sense. And so I'm going to predict a Buccaneers win in this one once again by a score of 24-20. All right, that's going to be it for this week's preview. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Hope you look forward to the Week 15 slate of games as we wind down near the end of the regular season, and I will see you guys in the next video. But thank you for watching, and go Bucs.